Hey everyone, and welcome. So what if I told you there isn't just one kind of chimpanzee? What if there were two totally distinct relatives, living literally right next door to each other, with just a river between them? Well, today, that's exactly what we're looking at. The two incredible members of the chimpanzee family.
Here's the plan for our journey. We're going to meet the family, then learn how you can tell them apart just by looking. We'll find out where they live, what's on their daily menu, and how their family lives are completely different. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at some of their seriously amazing talents. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a proper introduction. Both of these apes belong to the same scientific family, or, as scientists call it, a genus.
And that family name is Pan. Now, it's a very exclusive club. As you can see, there are only two species in this entire group, the common chimpanzee and the bonobo. That's it. And just so we're all on the same page, if you see a bunch of chimpanzees together, that's called a troop. For bonobos, you'd call them a group or a colony. And the little ones for both, they're called infants. Pretty straightforward, right? All right, now for the really fun part. If you had a chimpanzee and a bonobo standing side by side, would you know which was which? Trust me, after this, you'll be able to spot them like a pro. Okay, let's break this down. Chimpanzees tend to be more robust, more muscular. Bonobos are a bit more slender or gracile. Face-wise, a baby chimp is born with a light face that gets darker as they get older, but a bonobo is born with a dark face and these really distinct pink lips. Now here are the easy giveaways. Look at the hair. Bonobos often rock this cool-looking center part. And check this out. While both have a little white tuft of hair on their backside when they're infants, it fades away on the chimp. The bonobo, however, keeps that white tail tuft for its entire life.
So we know what they look like, but where on earth do they actually live? Well, it turns out they're neighbors, but they've got a great big, very wet fence keeping them apart.
And that fence is the mighty Congo River. It acts as a perfect natural barrier, so the two species stay completely separate. Chimpanzees, they're found in a pretty wide area in the forests north of the river. But bonobos, you'll only find them in one country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and only south of the river. Even though they live on opposite banks of this huge river, their day-to-day life is actually pretty similar. They both live in tropical rainforests, and they spend their days moving around looking for food. But here's what I think is the coolest fact. Every single night, they build a brand new nest to sleep in, high up in the trees made out of leaves and twigs. Can you imagine building yourself a new bed every single night? It keeps them safe and cozy.
All of that traveling and nest building definitely works up an appetite. So that brings us to the next big question. What's for lunch in the rainforest?
Well, the first thing to know is that both of them are omnivores. All that means is that they eat a mix of both plants and animal foods. But even though they're both omnivores, what they actually like to eat is pretty different.
Just take a look at the bonobo's diet. It's obvious they are huge fans of fruit. I mean, wow, a whopping 60% of everything they eat is fruit, and figs are an absolute favorite. The rest of their diet is mostly leaves and stems, with a few insects here and there. They are definitely fruit lovers first and foremost.
Chimpanzees, on the other hand, have a much wider menu. They love fruit too, of course, but they also eat nuts, seeds, bark, honey, and plenty of insects. And here's a big difference. Chimpanzees will actively hunt small animals, like monkeys or antelope. They're much more of what you'd call an opportunistic omnivore. Okay, this is where things get really interesting. This is where we see the biggest, most dramatic differences between these two apes. It's not about what they look like or what they eat, but how they live together. Their societies are worlds apart.
This slide says it all. Chimpanzee troops are what you might call a classic male-dominated society. There's a really structured hierarchy, and it's led by a powerful alpha male. Bonobo groups, though, are the complete opposite. They're led by the females. Their society is famous for being incredibly peaceful, and they're experts at sorting out disagreements with friendly gestures.
Now, growing up in one of these societies is a long journey. A chimpanzee's life is split into 6 main stages. As a tiny neonate, they're held tight to their mom's chest. Then, as an infant, they get to ride around on her back. Pretty cool. The juvenile stage, from 4 to 7, is all about playing and learning to socialize. Then comes the adolescent and subadult years where they mature and become more independent. And finally, after age 15, they're considered adults, ready to find their place in the troop.
So, no matter how different their social lives are, One thing both chimpanzees and bonobos have in common is that they are incredibly smart. Let's check out some of the amazing talents they share.
I love this question. Seriously, think about it. How would you get a tasty snack of termites when they're hiding deep inside a dirt mound? You don't have a fishing rod, but you do have a very clever brain. The answer is, you use tools. Their ingenuity is just brilliant. Both of these apes are expert tool users. They'll find the perfect twig and strip off the leaves to make a fishing rod for termites. They use stones as a hammer and anvil to crack open tough nuts. They'll even chew up leaves to make a sponge to soak up water, or just hold a big leaf over their head like an umbrella when it rains.
And their physical skills are just as mind-blowing. They are total masters of something called brachiation. That's just the fancy scientific word for swinging from branch to branch using your arms. With their long, powerful arms, they move through the treetops like absolute acrobats. It's their own personal superhighway in the sky.
So, let's bring it all together. The crucial point is this. While the common chimpanzee and the bonobo are the only two members of their special family, the genus Pan, they are wonderfully, fascinatingly unique, from their looks to their favorite foods, and especially to how they live their social lives.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've met the male-led troops of the chimps and the female-led groups of the bonobos. After getting this peek into their two incredibly different worlds, which one of these amazing ape families are you most curious to learn more about?